Up next, we have Representative David Young. He's a Republican. He's running against Democrat Cindy Axne. There's also an independent in the race and a libertarian in the race, and all three have already spoken on the soapbox stage. Without further ado, Representative Young.
Thank you. Hello, Iowa. Nice to be with you today. Welcome to the State Fair, whether it's your first day or your seventh day. I've been here every day. I love the State Fair. I worked here at the State Fair when I was a kid at the Bill Riley stage. It was the Coke Plaza stage at the time on the Bill Riley talent show, so many, many great memories. And so I was born and raised in Van Meter. My mom and dad are here. Mom, dad, and nice to see you. Age of 15, moved to Johnston because that's where my parents went, so I had to go with them. And graduated from Johnston High School in 1986, and then started off at Buena Vista College and then Drake University. And after graduating from Drake, I worked around Des Moines for a bit and got interested in policy, some politics that surrounds it, and really the servant's heart that the good Lord gave me. I wanted to work for the people in my community and in Iowa. And so I went to Washington, D.C., and I knocked on Chuck Grassley's door. And the 8 years before I ran for the U.S. Congress and started serving in 2014, I was serving Iowa as his chief of staff and learned a lot. You know, there's something great about Iowa that I think is unlike any other state. Three things I love about Iowa are, one, the beautiful landscape that's out there. If you get outside of Des Moines, get outside of the more metropolitan areas, God did something really nice here when he made the earth. Two, the food is awesome, and it's testament here at the State Fair. Three, there's just something about the people of Iowa. They work hard, they're nice, they've got such great compassion. They've got servants' hearts as well. They love this country, they love one another. So what am I hearing about right now as I go around to the 16 counties here in the 3rd District? So this district is Polk County, all the way over to Council Bluffs, Pottawatomie County, and down to the Missouri border. I call them the Sweet 16, and my commitment has been to go to every county every month. Why? Because I want to hear from my bosses. There's over 700,000 plus people in this district. Democrats, Republicans, independents, no party. Some people aren't even registered. And so they all want to be heard. They want to all have access to those who represent them at any level of government, whether it's federal or local. And I tell you what, I want to learn from my bosses because when the issues at hand come up in Washington, D.C., I want to get it right. And I want to know what the people are thinking who I represent. They're talking about the economy right now in a big way. 4.1 GDP. That's pretty amazing, right? And we can keep that going. There's an economic renaissance going on in Iowa and this country, and we have to make sure that it continues. How do you make sure that we get that 3% growth at least to continue? One, you have to have a common sense regulatory scheme, right? You have to make sure that the voices of those who it affects, that they are heard, right? You involve the stakeholder. No one-size-fits-all approach works, and we've seen that time and time before. Regulations have choked the economy, and they've taken away personal rights as well, constitutional rights and liberties, particularly when you think about property rights. I can think of a regulation a few years ago in the Obama administration, the Waters of the USA. Remember that regulation? It would have re-regulated 97% of Iowa's land in a new way. That hinders economic development. It hurts private property rights. So a common sense regulatory agenda. Two, you want to make sure that you have a tax code that rewards hard work, investment, and gives certainty, right? Iowans are the hardest working people out there. Some of them are taking 2 and 3 paychecks home a week or every 2 weeks because that's how many jobs are working sometimes. And Iowans deserve to keep more of their hard-earned dollars because they earned it. And they know how to spend it better than the federal government does. We all know that. So lowering those rates on individuals, letting them have more of their hard-earned dollars because it's theirs, lowering the rates on small businesses and larger job providers as well. And look what's happening with the economy. People are reinvesting in their business, hiring more people, increasing wages as well. We've doubled the child tax credit, doubled the standard deduction, rewarding families, letting them keep more of what they earned. That's how we're getting to this 4.1% growth that we've seen this last quarter. 3, you have to have a workforce that's ready to go. With such a low unemployment rate right now, folks, we're needing workers. We need workers. Now, if we can't find them here, we need to make sure that they have access to those opportunities to be trained. And it's not always going to be a 4-year university or college, right? You can go to Iowa Western Community College or Des Moines Area Community College or Southwest Community College in Creston, get a welding degree or a certificate for an apprenticeship and make $80,000 to $100,000 a year just like that and not have that college debt. And where we are needing workers beyond that, we have to look at those sectors of the economy. Guest worker programs can work and have proven to work before. And we need that right now in agriculture right now because we are, of course, an agriculture state. The 4th thing that we need to make sure that we have that 3% growth at least and try to repeat that 4.1% GDP, we have to have a strong and bold free trade agenda. Now, we're hearing a lot about trade right now, right? There's a lot of bad actors around the world that have taken advantage of us. China's just to name one. And our president, President Trump, it's no surprise when he ran for president, he talked about doing something about China, and he's doing it. Other presidents have talked about it, but not done things. So I don't question the president's intentions to want to make sure that we get a better deal on trade in the end. But I do tell you personally, it makes me nervous, and it makes a lot of people nervous around the district and around the state. I personally don't like tariffs. I think they're taxes on consumers. I think they're taxes on employers. But if the president can use this as a leverage tool and take care of this sooner rather than later and land this plane, we're looking at some pretty incredible things happening here in Iowa. And I've reached out to the president. He knows our concerns. And we had the vice president here in the district yesterday, and I was able to have a conversation with him and talk to the vice president about, you know, if you're going to do this, make sure it works and make sure it's done sooner rather than later. We got to get NAFTA done, right? We got to get the Farm Bill done as well for our farmers. We got rid of a not so good EPA administrator, and we got a new one because that person wasn't upholding the law when it comes to renewable fuels. So let's see if this new EPA administrator will do that. We had him here at the State Fair the other day, frying pork chops with him. It was a great day, and we had a great discussion with agriculture producers. So you get those 4 legs in that chair, and we can keep doing what we're doing, providing great opportunities for Iowans and the next generation. Bipartisanship is the thing people hear about or talk about and may not see. But let me tell you, the majority of what is done in Washington, D.C. is done in a bipartisan way, in committee and even on the floor many times in the House of Representatives, more times than you would think. I can think about the opioid crisis that we're tackling right now. That doesn't discriminate against any party line. That's happening to our families in a horrible way, and we're fighting the opioid crisis together. When it comes to mental health and making sure that there are sufficient funding and support for those issues on the ground, we are taking care of that with funding. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all approach about how we solve that, though, right? At the most local level, that's where we're going to make the difference and make sure that we take care of those who have mental issues. And they're in our families. They're in our communities. We need to take care of them. We're taking care of our veterans like we've never taken care of before, right? I was proud to author a bill called remember our Veterans Crisis Line? It had some real problems. We passed a way to fix that in a bipartisan way. 21st Century Cures Act, a bipartisan bill. You talk about the diseases and maladies that some in our families are afflicted with. This harnesses the underpinnings of the Human Genome Project and really accelerates funding to make sure that we can take care of those diseases and help our families live better lives. I can go on and on about some of the things that we've been doing in a bipartisan way. And let me tell you, I will work with anyone who has great intentions and really wants to make sure that we solve the problem. You see a lot of people out there screaming and yelling. You see the voices on the internet or hear them on talk radio or hear them on television. Those folks have great passion, but when it comes to the name calling, there's ostracized, right? Those folks are. And when they're ostracized from the table of solutions, the 700,000 or more people that they represent are ostracized. And I'm not going to do that. I'm a happy warrior, be fighting every day for you with passion, but I'm going to go with great intentions to sit down and find a solution. I'll work with anybody. And that's my approach. I just want the people of 3rd District to know that you're my bosses. The president's the president. Speaker of the House is the Speaker of the House. Senate Majority Leader is the Senate Majority Leader. But they're not my bosses. I'll work with them. But my bosses are the people of the 3rd District. And I'm asking for your continued support to help keep this economy going, opportunities there, making sure that we are keeping our Constitution intact and respected. And that's the first oath I take when I was sworn into the Constitution of the United States. My allegiance is to this country and her people, and may God bless you. May God bless this great fair we're having today. May God bless this great state that we live in this great country we live in, that sometimes we don't realize until we just sit back and think about the freedoms that we have. I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your vote. Go out and eat something. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.